Hi everybody, and welcome to Oven and Tap. As you can see, we are off farm today. We're hanging with Chef Luke Wetzel, one of our good buddies. We're going to be talking about how to prepare some pork items. We just came back from the butcher last week with 6 more pigs that have been processed and ready to go. So we're going to be starting up with our 10-pound and our 25-pound pork boxes again. And in preparation for that, Chef Luke is going to take some chops, which is a very common item.
Yep.
And then something a little less common, some jowl, and show us how to prepare those in a way that he loves to help spark some ideas. So, Luke, what are we up to today?
Well, we're up to a lot. And again, my name is Luke Wetzel, chef owner of Oven and Tap. Very excited. So we spent some time in the market, both picking up some pork from Tuckaway and then also grabbing some items like these beautiful radishes. We got bok choy and then a variety of herbs. And then we're also going to be working out of our pantry. I think the pantry is the most important part of the kitchen. It's great to have a well-built pantry. Got all kinds of olive oil, cucumbers, different seasonings, salt, pepper, a little bit of chili flake, and then we'll use all this together and pull together some amazing dishes today. So we're going to start with a pork chop.
Sweet.
We are loving Tuckaway's pork chops. Beautiful. We've marinated these overnight. So beautiful fat cap is one thing to note. So
How much of a fat cap are you looking for when you look at a chop?
I mean, personally, I like this, inch, 3/4
an inch, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Offers great flavor, offers a cooking medium for the pork chops while they're cooking. So instead of having to use a lot of butter or extra oil, we can use the fat from the animal. So these have been marinated overnight in a little bit of miso-marinated. So a little bit of a different style for Oven and Tap. We cook a lot of Southern Italian food here, so Southern-ish food with Italian principles. But we're applying those same things with some really cool ingredients. So this is a miso paste. We have a little bit of chili flake in there for hot pepper, some olive oil, and then some of a very unique item to Arkansas is a new Arkansas sake, so being made in Hot Springs.
And the purpose of the sake, is that for flavor, or is it to break the meat down? Like what?
A little bit of both. So it'll help break the meat down, tenderize it, denature it a bit, and then as it cooks off, it will have some of those nice notes of the nuttiness of the rice, and also some residual, some of the residual sweetness. But let's get the searing real quick. So I have this oven here, which may not look like your oven at home, but
yeah, what temperature would you say this is set for?
Probably like 400 to 450. So we want a little bit of time to render the fat. We have a neutral oil here to get it started, just a little bit. Again, we're going to try to use as much of this natural pork fat as we can. We'll do this a little bit differently at home, but just imagine on your stove top, you can set the fat side down, and we're going to let that go. So you can hear, one of my favorite lessons about cooking is cooking, with your ear. So you're listening to it with a nice even sizzle. If it gets to be too rapid or too aggressive, we can pull it off the heat, lower the heat. But we're always working with the food. So we'll put a few in here. They can kind of rest on each other. But just a nice even sizzle. And we'll let those sit. Again, let those hang out. Let that fat render. Get a little crispy. Sometimes you have to play a little balancing act, which we'll do here. We'll probably leave those here. We'll forget about them. We're not going to walk away from them, but we'll forget about them for 3 to 4 minutes. And then we'll start searing the meat.
Okay.
So in the meantime, we are, going to prep our side dish. So pork, we're coming up on some warmer months. So I love the idea of having your pork chop cooked and then garnished with a beautiful fresh salad. And today we're going to make one with cucumbers and radishes. And so what we're going to do is we have a variety of cucumbers, and anyone will work. We're just going to slice these really thin. You can use a mandolin, whatever you're comfortable with. You can use a knife. But this is dead simple and easy. You can get this done ahead of time. And then we will add our radishes here. Got a few cut up. I like to just peel off. These have been washed, but I like to keep the skin as long as it's nice and tender. And the way we figure that out is just to taste the food. Very important piece of this. Delicious. Okay. So we'll cut these in quarters or halves, whichever makes sense for our salad, and then cut them about the size of the cucumber. And we'll add them right to our cucumbers. And what we're going to do right now is just simply add a little bit of sea salt.
Got that nice big flake sea salt. that stuff.
You could use kosher salt, but I would definitely prefer to say cucumber or kosher or sea salt.
Okay.
And then just a little bit of our chili flake. And what we're going to do is mix it up really well. The salt will actually start to pull out some of the moisture. And we'll let this sit in the refrigerator for about an hour. I'm going to give these pork chops a flip.
So you want the salad to sit for about an hour, salted like that? Okay.
We do, yeah.
And look at that. Nice crispy edges.
So at this point, we've seared the pork chops over higher heat. Once we flip them, we can start to roast them or bake them probably around 350 to let them cook very evenly throughout.
Okay.
We're going for like a medium.
For you, does that mean just moving it to a different part of the oven
It does.
that's a little cooler? Okay.
So like we're staying right here in the front of the oven, and then sometimes we'll just kind of push them here away from the fire and let them slowly come up to temperature. But I think this pork being beautifully and well raised out in the pasture, we can cook it to about medium, let it rest, and it'll be perfect.
Okay.
We'll drain some of this off. We can bring it over here now. Our pork chops, you can see, have gotten a lot of nice char and caramelization.
Yep.
We've cooked them through on that medium, 350 heat. This feels great. So we'll pull these off.
Let rest for maybe 5 minutes. What do you
5
recommend?
to 10 minutes. If
Okay.
it's going to be longer, you might tent them with a little piece of foil.
Okay.
Now, don't wrap them tightly. We don't want them to steam. You'll lose all that beautiful caramelization.
Okay.
So if you do use foil, just gently place it over the top and let it hang out for a little bit.
Got it.
So I'll let our fat cool just a bit before I add it to the jar, but any of these jars you have kicking around the house are perfect for it.
Okay.
Throw it in there, seal it up, throw it in the refrigerator,
Baked biscuits.
but keep using it. Yeah, baked biscuits. So now we've had our cucumbers hanging out for the better part of an hour, and you can see that they've still crunchy, but give it some of their moisture. They're chilled, so they're nice and refreshing. This is great with our deeply savory and umami pork rub. So we've cooked our pork chops to our rosy medium center. The way I think, enjoying some of these pork chops, especially coming off the farm or at the farm, is with friends and family. So here we sliced it into about 1 inch or half-inch slices. We can line them up. I've just gently tossed them back in a bunch of that beautiful rendered fat just to make sure they're nice and juicy and delicious. We've lined them up on our plate, and then we have our beautiful cucumbers. So now we've added a little more chili flake just for a little bit of spice. Something we always have around, maybe a little sugar.
Yeah.
I guess that balances some of the lime and that heat. So just a little bit. And again, we want this to be, some of those cucumbers have given off a little bit of their natural juices. We want to keep that so it's nice and delicious and juicy. And then for a variety of herbs could work here. Today we have a bunch of cilantro. And really, the cilantro is so delicious all the way down to the stem.
Totally, we love the stems.
And so we'll, be very rustic with this. Something we like to, present at Oven and Tap is as much of the vegetable or the herb or the fruit we can. And so I think just a good splash of that on the plate, plenty of it, gives that nice pop of color and nice pop of flavor. And then we can just pile our cucumbers in there. These are chilled and refreshing and delicious. It's gonna be such a great balance with that pork. It's looking beautiful. I can just imagine this sitting out at the picnic table on the farm.
Family style presentation. Everybody gather around, grab a couple slices.
Chickens running around.
Everything's
happening.
You have to fight the chickens off of the cilantro. They love that stuff.
And here, last trick for this dish.
Okay.
We took some of the reserve marinade from the pork chop and brought it up to a simmer and just reduced it till it's thickened just a bit. Since there's a little bit of it will cook off the alcohol from the sake one, and then it'll reduce the miso, so you get this nice sauce consistency. Very intense. You don't
need a lot.
With it. Yeah. But again, it'll just drape over the meat for that nice little extra juiciness, and then
and
we're
pop
ready
of
to
flavor.
go.
As a farmer, I love that your vegetables are hero too. You guys do such a good job of that. But
yeah, all the love for the vegetables. So we have our Tuckaway pork chops, miso-marinated, and then our beautiful cucumber radish salad and a a grip of fresh cilantro. Real nice. So next is
The jowl.
the jowl. So the jowl is the cheek of the pork.
I have some jowls. Yeah, more than I'd like. Yeah.
So this is a cut of meat very similar to the pork belly or the pork shoulder. It requires some extra attention, some longer cooking, but is very, very delicious. It's unctuous. It's got a lot of natural fat and things that we cook for a long time. It breaks down.
Unctuous. That was a good word. What does that mean? I don't even know what that means.
Just it becomes like very velvety and rich.
Okay.
And with all this fat that breaks down. So we cooked this for about 6 hours yesterday.
Okay.
So we cleaned up the jowl of some excess fat, and then you have this beautiful piece of fatty, delicious meat. We made a rosemary pepper, so we just took fresh rosemary and fresh peppercorns and ground them up together, and then seasoned with salt and pepper. And then we seared it on all sides. Once we had it all seared, we added our tomato, garlic, mirepoix, a little bit of white wine, and then any herbs we had available. We had lots of rosemary sitting around, so we clipped that and threw that in.
Okay.
Brought that to a simmer, covered it, forgot about it for like 4 or 5 hours, uncovered it, and that's where we put it in the oven to finish browning. And we got this beautiful caramelization over the top and a beautiful tender cut of meat now.
Yeah.
This is, again, like a very rich cut, so this is great in a smaller portion.
Okay.
Or shared again with friends. And we're going to serve it with some grits and greens, but instead of like a long cooked collard green with sugar and vinegar, we found this bok choy at the market. And all we've done, this is beautiful, baby bok choy, very sweet. It has a lot of good crunch from the stalk, and then had the leafy green, so you get all these different textures. We love cooking it, and love the flavor. Again, simply, we've trimmed off the stem there, and depending on the size of the bulb, we just knock it in half, and that looks about like what we'd want to cook. We'll season it with a little bit of pepper, and then we would put it in a cast iron pan or similar, and again, bake it in our oven. Over here, we have some that's been cooked ahead of time. You can see it wilts a bit, but still very firm. It's gonna be very crunchy.
A little bit of char on the leaves.
Char on the leaves, and it's have all this like great flavor, and it's gonna be our, collard green, if you will, for this very southern dish.
Did you put some rendered pork fat in here to cook it with, or just dry?
So everything needs a little bit of a cooking medium, we'll call it. So it works since we had our pork fat around, a little drizzle of that. Any oils work. We cook a lot with olive oil here because we like the extra flavor. But yeah, since you have the beautiful animal fat, the pork fat kicking around, use it up. And just enough to where you can get some of the char and let it cook through. We're going to reheat this gently, so we can use a little olive oil, just a touch more salt. And then we can also just grab a little ladle or spoon of that pork chop fat, which is that's gonna set it off. That'll be delicious. Drizzle it with that pork fat and then just let it finish for a few minutes here.
Okay.
For this, again, we're gonna do just some slices, probably an inch thick. And once we get it cut here, you can see all this beautiful, it's almost like a rib, just gorgeous. You can see all the rendered fat running through it, but also plenty of meat on there. So this is gonna be a very tender, kind of fall off the bone cut. Yeah. And almost falling apart. We wanna keep the heat pretty like a medium high. We're listening to our meat. It's searing at a nice even pace. Again, we're not trying to do anything on super high heat where we're setting off smoke detectors and things like that at the house.
It's interesting to me how much you cook by sound.
Yes. No, there's a ton of that.
Especially when it's back there and you can't see it super well.
Yeah, so
right?
you're all the cooks, people cooking are dynamic situations. There's a lot going on. We're plating some, we're cooking some, and so a lot of the cooking is done without line of sight, and so we're always listening to the food, and always, there's kind of like there's a feel for it, but certainly you have to listen to it. All right, so now we're pulling out our seared or roasted pork jowl that, again, we braised for almost 6 hours. We've done the same with our bok choy we discussed. Put it back in the oven just to rewarm, and not when it's nice and hot. I like to grate plenty of lemon and squeeze it over the top. This will help waken it up, be nice and bright side to our rich pork. We'll hit it with a little more salt. And then here we have our grits or polenta. So we'll have our grits there. These actually have a little smoked cheese in them too, so we're gonna have a very rich and delicious pork jowl. We'll pick up our beautiful caramelized pork pieces here. We'll do like a little 1.5 there. Then we have our bok choy. And again, this could be any type of green, even broccoli or cauliflower, whatever you find at the market would be awesome here. Tuck that into the side. And then last, certainly not least, we have some of the liquid that we cooked the pork jowl in for all these. We strained it and just warmed it up. It's very intense, again, kind of like our marinade sauce, and it just brings the dish together. We can apply a little bit over the top of the pork there, and wow, delicious. That could be a fun one for spring and summer, and a great way to try a new cut of pork, and available right here in the market.
So if you want to give these dishes a shot, Chef Luke has been kind enough to provide us the recipes for both of these. We'll get those out on Instagram. But go ahead and go online. You can order a 10-pound or a 25-pound variety box. If you want to make sure that you get some jowl in there, let us know. We'll make sure that you get some of that delicious jowl so you can give this a shot.
Jowl in there.
Yeah, it is so good. So look for the pork boxes, the bundle boxes online at Tuckaway, or you can find us at the farmer's market.